I appreciate you joining me today. Hope you're having a good day. We're going to be looking at when Jonathan warns David today to escape. Our hymn today is called Speed Away.
Speed away, take the gospel of light to the lands that are wrapped in the darkness of night. Go ye into the world is the Savior's command. Take the light of the gospel, shine o'er every land. Go ye forth in his name, and the gospel proclaim. Speed away, speed away, speed away.
Appreciate it, Lee. Let's look at the other verses. Speed away, take the message of love to the souls that know not of the Father above. Why so loved this dark world that he gave his own Son, through whose blood on Calvary redemption was won. Let us haste while 'tis day, not a moment's delay. Speed away. Take the word that gives life to the nations in which Satan's kingdom is rife. For the word, if believed and obeyed, will give peace to the captives of Satan. It will bring release. To the rescue make haste. There is no time to waste. Speed away. We're in 1 Samuel chapter 20. And as David speaks to Saul's son and says, "What have I done? What is my iniquity? And what is my sin before your father that he seeks my life?" Jonathan is incredulous and just can't believe that his father would do such a thing. But the writing's pretty much on the wall. To use another biblical passage, another biblical picture from Daniel. And so David and Jonathan speak, and Jonathan basically says, "I will sound him out and find out, and if all is well, good. If not, I will get the message to you." And so they are going to make a plan, and the signal is going to be concerning the arrows. So verse 20 and down, Jonathan says, "I will shoot 3 arrows to the side as though I shot at a target. There I will send a lad, saying, Go, find the arrows. If I expressly say to the lad, Look, the arrows are on this side of you, get them and come, then as the Lord lives, there is safety for you and no harm. But if I say thus to the young man, Look, the arrows are beyond you, go your way, for the Lord has sent you away." And of course, we know what's going to happen. And I was just thinking about Jonathan here and the role he's going to play, the role he's playing, and that he is protecting the righteous. He is protecting someone who has done no harm, and he is sticking his neck out more than he realizes, as we'll read here in just a moment. But that's what's happening, and that's a good thing. It is good to protect the righteous, those who have done no wrong. You know, when we think about the character of God and how and he defends, as it speaks about, I believe one of the passages concerns the orphans and widows, and he defends the innocent. Well, that's what we should do too. When we see someone who's innocent, we should defend them. We should do what we can to protect them. And that's what Jonathan is doing. Back to our passage. So it goes on. David hides in the field. Saul has, as it speaks about, a feast or a sacrifice. And David normally would have been there, but of course David's not there. And so he says to his son, "Where's David at?" And Jonathan says, "Well, he asked permission to go to Bethlehem," on and on and on. And this is where Saul throws the spear at Jonathan, his own son. Verse 33. Verse 34, "So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and ate no food in the 2nd day of the month, for he was grieved for David because his father had treated him shamefully." And that's the thing. His own family was behaving shamefully. And sometimes that happens. And we need to be man enough. We need to be courageous enough to call out our family when they behave shamefully. We need to be courageous enough to rebuke them and say that's not right. We need to recognize innocence and we need to recognize guilt impartially. Otherwise, we're not following in the Lord's footsteps. So here, I feel sorry for Jonathan because Jonathan's in a very difficult position because he loves David and he knows David hasn't done anything wrong, but his own father is just acting absolutely shamefully. So the message is going to be sent. The arrows are going to be shot. He's going to come out to the place, and the arrows are going to be shot. And then, of course, the lad doesn't know what's going on. Verse 39. And when the lad departs, then David appears, and this is where they weep together and various things. Verse 42. Go in peace. Jonathan says to David, go in peace, since we have both sworn in the name of the Lord, saying, may the Lord be between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever. So he arose and departed, and Jonathan went to the city. Goes back to his father. They kissed one another. They wept together, David more so. What Jonathan had to do was to say goodbye. Jonathan's going to see David again when David's on the run. He's going to meet him at a certain point. But for now, it's go in peace. And Jonathan is going to go back, and Jonathan is basically going to go down with the ship. He is going to die with his brothers and with his father. And I'm not sure that was necessarily wrong. Again, Jonathan's in a difficult place, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And Jonathan felt like his place was by his father's side, so he goes back. He says goodbye. It's a hard thing to do, to say goodbye to someone whom you love, but sometimes we have to do it. Not just in death, but just in as we go through life and we find ourselves in different situations. Sometimes we have to say goodbye and bid them Godspeed, and that's what Jonathan is doing here. Back to our hymn. Our hymn is more evangelical in nature, of course, as it speaks about these things. Speed away, take the gospel of light. But you might just consider how Jonathan said goodbye to David and bid him Godspeed as David would go on doing God's will. You know, Saul was rejected because Saul was not doing God's will. And so David would speed away doing the will of the Lord. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.